right. Jeff VanNote, the man, the myth, the legend. How are we doing today?
Good, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me out here today. Absolute pleasure. It's gorgeous out here.
I just bring you to this side of, Tribeca.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's unknown territory to me. So
right.
It's been an
Uncharted
amazing
waters.
experience. Just a few questions to run by you. So you're 37 now. You started getting into the mortgage business when you were around the age of 20, which is my age now.
Mm-hmm.
What was your mindset going into that, and what propelled you into that success that you saw a few years down the road after that?
Sure. So I always interned at my dad's mortgage bank. I really started in the mailroom back in like '88, but I wound up trying to buy a house in 2007. I was playing college football at Fordham, and I was like, all right, $600 per room, 3 bedrooms, a floor. It's $1,800 a month. We lived in a 4-family. I'm like, wow, it's $7,200 a month someone's making. Wow, I need to figure this out because I'm a football player and we made the football house, so I could do this, right? Like, if I buy a house and there's 6 bedrooms, I can make $3,600 a month. So there was a house in between the football house and campus that I would walk past every way each day. And I'm like, I want to try and buy this. There's a for sale sign on it. So I called the RE/MAX agent up every day from July of 2007 through November 2007. Never returned my phone call, never replied to my email. Texting was just a thing. You were what, 6? You were probably 6 years old.
Yeah, well, you're saying?
2007?
Yeah. No, I was...
5?
So I was 3.
3?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
2007, yeah.
I was in my 3rd year of college. So what had happened was football season ended. We lost to Victor Cruz and UMass, and I had my suit and tie. When we were traveling, you had to wear a suit and tie. And I wound up driving into the Bronx. I was in the Bronx at Fordham, all the way to this office where this agent's sign was, where a company was. And I walk in, I'm like, hey, I'm trying to buy this house on Crotona Avenue. And they were like, that house ain't for sale. And I'm like, okay, there's a for sale sign on it. I'm like, what am I missing?
Yeah, right.
And they were like, honey, that's a short sale. And I'm like, what the heck's a short sale? And remember, I've been interning at my dad's mortgage bank. I was basically everyone's bitch.
Yeah, you're running around, just get
top
this for me, do
sales
that for me.
guys, like go do this, stay there, make these copies, whatever.
Right.
But I taught myself the business along the way. And what I had said was, this guy who's 40-something years old, now at this point I'm like 17, 18, 19.
Right.
I'm like, if this guy making $500,000, I could do that because I'm smarter at 17 than he is at 40. He's been doing this how long? Like, oh my God, if he's making this, I can make $5 million a year.
Right.
So I didn't want to go into the mortgage business. When I left my business card there and I turned to walk out of the real estate office, they said, oh honey, you do mortgages? Can you pre-approve these 2 people for us? And I'm like, is this how easy this business is? I'm like, oh, I think I could hustle some mortgages while I'm still going to Fordham and playing football.
Of course.
Just December 2007. So this was, let's just call it like, I think it was like December 10th. Don't hold me to that date. So on December 10th, I walked into that office. I went back every single day from December 10th, 2007 to June 2009. Every single day I went to that real estate office. Saturdays, Sundays, nights, weekends, in between classes, in between practices, in between games, you name it, right? So now we go into 2008, so now it's a couple months later. I'm now 21 years old. My birthday's in December.
Right.
Because it was a week before my birthday. I couldn't even legally drink, so it was like December 10th.
Yeah.
And I started skipping classes because they were sending me mortgage clients to pre-approve. So I would start skipping classes, but I was dominating on the football field. I was running with the starters.
Right.
And I was like, this is great. I could go to class, I can maintain my GPA, I could be eligible for football, I can play football, I can still make a couple dollars every month doing mortgages.
Right.
Now, at this point, I hadn't closed any deals yet. So the day before the spring game, I went into my evaluation with my coach, and I thought he was going to say, like, good job, you worked your ass off, way to work your way up and become like maybe a starter. He cut me. And I was like, whoa, what? I'm like, he cut me. I'm like, I thought I was going to play. I'm going into my redshirt junior year. I got 2 years left of eligibility, and I was like, wow, like this is bad. And I wound up still going to the spring game the next day, even though he cut me. I led the team in touchdowns and receiving yards. And after the spring game, I asked him if he'd be willing to reconsider cutting me. He told me no. And I'm lucky that I even got to play that game that day, right?
Wow.
So I had girls, friends, my family coming up, watching me playing. Like, it was bad. It was devastating.
Right.
Literally, this was a Saturday. That Sunday, I put my suit and tie and I went back on the street, and I just hit the street and hustled mortgages. And I basically took everything I did from strength training, early workouts, conditioning, and I stopped going to class. Obviously, football had ended, and I applied that same dedication and commitment into hustling the streets for mortgages. And every day I would drive like 110 miles from the Bronx all the way through New Jersey stay at my mom's house, and the next day do the reverse commute. And I did that every day for 18 months straight. So all I did was literally just work nonstop, endlessly, 24/7. And everyone told me there's no deals out there. There's only short sales, foreclosures, no banks are lending, all these things that the market, they were right, but I was like, I know there's deals out there, I'm going to go find them, right? I know there are people buying properties, I'm going to go find the ones that want to buy a property. I know there got people that want to be selling properties, I don't know what's going on, but I know people are going to be wanting to business. So all I did was put my head down and block out all the noise and go and try and prove everyone wrong and make a name for myself outside of being a football player.
Right. That's incredible. So in today's day and age, obviously a main source of people's advertising is, content creation, networking events. When you say you hit the streets looking for business back when you were first starting, what do you mean specifically? Were you like when you were driving around going, your daily route? What did it look like getting business back then for you?
Yeah, so just to put it in perspective, in 2008, so that's really where I made my first name for myself. There was no LinkedIn. LinkedIn didn't even exist publicly yet, right? There was no Instagram. To be on Facebook, you could only be on Facebook if you had a college.edu email. Wow. So there was no social media. Let's just get that started, right? So by hitting the streets, I would wake up, I would go to the same breakfast place every day, depending on where I was, and I would take somebody out to lunch, a potential client, a realtor, an attorney. I would then go and drive and go into, literally walk in without even knowing any real estate office. If you had a real estate brokerage, a Remax, a Century 21, a Weicker, an Exit, whatever you were, I would walk in and be like, hey, I'm Jeff, I do mortgages, I can close your deal in 2 weeks. Hey, I'm Jeff, I do FHA 203K loans. I took my first commission check and built out FHA 203KDream.com, $7,000 it was. And it was a virtual walkthrough of a construction rehab loan, which still exists today, an FHA 203K loan. And I said, well, if every property is a short sale, every property needs work, the product that I need to pump right now are FHA 203K loans because every property is in a bad state. And I would take that flyer and I would go and I would say I do FHA 203K loans, and I had one deal that I had closed in September of 2008 that I featured on the deal, a $510,000 loan for Trevor Bolden in the Bronx and Troggs Neck. I tell you to this day, right? At a 7.25% interest rate.
Wow.
So I tell you that because rates right now, as you know, are 7.25%.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I say I've come full circle. But I did that all day, every day. No, I still partied occasionally. I was still in college. Now, I'm a senior in college, don't forget, right? All my friends are partying, drinking, hanging out, going to the city. Whether I was out till 3 a.m. or in bed by 9, which I wasn't, I worked until 11 or 12 every single day. I was up at 7 a.m. and pounding the same strip, pounding the same accounts, pounding the same routine. And one thing that I always did was I said, hey, listen, people didn't really have emails. I had a BlackBerry at the time. I didn't even have an iPhone. You don't even know what a BlackBerry is probably.
I do.
So I would meet somebody, hey, Ryan, really great to meet you. Also, give me your card. I would go in the parking lot and I would go on my BlackBerry and I would email them, Ryan, it was so great to meet you, man. I can't wait to meet up again. And there were no mortgage people. Everyone was basically demoralized. They were all wiped out. No one was really lending money. Realtors really had no deals. So I was like that light. Like, wow, this kid's optimistic. This kid's out here running around hustling. This kid's out in a suit and tie. This kid shows up every single day.
Right.
And I would email them from my BlackBerry. And based on their time to reply, I knew whether they were the real deal or not. Some people never replied. Some people replied instantly. Great, so nice to meet you. Let's catch a ball game, whatever it was. And that's how I built my Rolodex. No social media, right?
Right.
So hitting the streets was actually putting on a suit and tie and getting out into the wild, getting out and hitting the concrete and shaking hands and kissing babies. And I still do that still to this day.
So after those years of doing mortgages, I think you mentioned it was at the age of around 24 that you were like, all right, I'm done with this business. After,
I knew at 24
after you did very well at the age of 24, after that, that's when you stepped out, or is that when you transitioned?
Yeah, so May of 2017 is when I completely wiped. So I was 30. I had turned 30 in December of 2016.
Right.
And I decided that I hate the higher ups playing the politics game, the glass ceilings, the management that never did numbers I did in their career that I used to do in a year, trying to tell me what to do, hating and just being negative.
That's how it goes.
I hated all of it, right? So I decided to give myself the opportunity to play in the major leagues of lending with commercial real estate financing, alternative financing, private financing, bridge financing, institutional debt, hard money. I taught myself. I walked away from $500,000 a year of income and said, I'm going down to zero income and I'm going to figure this out on my own. No one's going to teach me this. I'm going to teach myself this business from rock bottom. And it was very humbling because I went from being a $40,000 to $50,000 a month earner back to zero, where I didn't even know what I was talking about.
Right.
But I needed that foundation and that Rolodex and those relationships in order to build my business to the next level.
Right. So what is the biggest difference between, when you were just doing normal mortgages versus, I guess you're kind of more on, is it safe to say, like somewhat of private equity now?
It's part of it. It's part of it.
Yeah. So
more sophistication, more numbers based, less emotion.
Exactly. So your goal now is to help people obtain loans by not using the banks, essentially?
Well, this is part of it, right? So like I say, what makes me more valuable, I'll say that humbly, than any other person that says they do real estate financing is I've done everything from your FHA 3.5% primary resident mortgage, your VA 100% financing, to a $15 million 110 unit office to residential conversion. I don't know many other people that have financed every specific asset class, land, hotels that exists. It's like, hey, I only finance hotels. Hey, I only finance conversions. Hey, I only finance FHA loans, right? I've done every type of real estate financing that exists on this earth. So when I meet with somebody, I can give them perspective or a trick or a leg up or a hack, if you will. I hate that word, of how to successfully do it based on thousands of clients I've worked with in the past 18 years.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. Well, thank you for the input. I'm sure many people will find tremendous value in this, but
Hope
you
so.
have an absolutely incredible story.
I appreciate it. I haven't even gotten started yet.
I was just gonna say you're only 37.
Still
just
building the foundation.
So I mean, it's just absolutely incredible to see where you are already and what's to come, man. I mean, I'm excited it's an absolute pleasure for me to be able to know you, and I just can't wait to see what happens in the future.
I think again, for someone like yourself, 99% of the battle today is physically being present and showing up somewhere.
100%.
Right? So like back in the day, work was getting up, showering, shaving, putting a suit and tie on, and hitting the street. People think working today is waking up, rolling over with one eye open, making a social media post, and rolling back over and going back to sleep. That's not working. Social media is not working, okay? Working is physically working and removing yourself from your home space or wherever you slept the night before, getting out into the wild, right? Because people right now need people and need relationships and need handshakes, and that's what this business is. And everyone who's rolling over and making a post, AI is going to wipe them out.
100%.
Now, I'm not saying it's not necessary, because I'm very active on social media, but I do that to complement everything else I do behind the scenes.
Exactly.
You don't know what I'm doing in any part of the day unless I'm documenting it. And if I'm posting 100 times a day, whether I'm in bed, in Florida, in New Jersey, in our meetings in Tribeca, it doesn't matter. I use that as a supplement, as a complement to my relationships. My core business, I could delete social media tomorrow, and I'll probably make more money, right? Shake hands, kiss babies, and close deals. And that's what this business is. It's not just posting.
Right.
And people think posting's working.
100%. And no doubt that posting plays a huge role. But, like you said, you are one of the only people that you believe can do the things that you do because of your past knowledge, through these different sacrifices, knowledge, and through these different experiences via all of the clients you've had and all the different transactions you had to deal with. It's just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Listen, the thing is, anybody could do what I do. I can tell you, when the biggest shift came in my life at 30, I did everything in my 20s to prove people wrong. I used hate and anger and rage to fuel my career, fuel my business. I've had many moments that I would have handled differently looking back at it, but I wouldn't change it. Going back to, I've still done things the same exact way, knowing what I know now, right? But at 30, from that point on, I tried doing everything with love and finesse and grace rather than force, But I had mountains to move, and I felt the only way to move mountains was force, and I was the only person I could rely on to move those mountains, right? So, I am 37, but I've lived probably 50 lives in this business. And I think from when I entered the business, what I've done in the business, my perception and perspective of the business allows me to be unique and stand out and be able to help someone like yourself realize I can't help you succeed. I can put you in positions to maybe expedite that, but it takes you the ability, based on market conditions, to take your career to the next level. No one else.
100%. And I always grew up playing football too, so I don't know. I can speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for you, but football has definitely been a blessing in terms of instilling that that drive in you, that willingness to always want to improve, to never want to lose, to want to prove people wrong. And I could definitely say I feel the same way. So, I mean, just hearing your story every time, I mean, I love, like I always say, I love watching your presentation that you did at the University of Houston. Whenever you start talking about that you just wanted to kick the butts of the older people who were trying to act like they were better than you. Like, nothing gets me going and gets you so more than that.
Here's what I tell you. So, like, the business has been very, it's become, the world, in my opinion, the world's become very soft. This industry has become very soft, very passive aggressive, right? So I'm like, dude, you want to fight? Let's go do an Oklahoma drill right here. Let's just run into each other full speed head on. Like, I love contact, right? And like, you can't cheap shot me. You can't cheap shot me. Me get up and come back for retaliation, and the flag get thrown on me. Like, dude, if you didn't cheap shot me first, I wouldn't have come back at you.
Yeah.
So this business has become a passive aggressive attack business where you can't hit back. And the moment that I realized and knew I had to stop physically hitting back, right, and I couldn't hit back anymore, I took that inner drive and competition and I turned it inside. And now the competition, there's no more external competition for me. It's all internal competition, right? So one of my goals was always to bench 225 10 times, to bench 300 pounds. Because of shoulder injuries and whatever, life got in the way. And my son will be 6, and I always said I can't have my son bench 225 before me, by 10 times before me, or bench 300 pounds. So about 18 months ago, I set out. I went to the gym twice a week. I had an NFL combine trainer who trained me for like 2 or 3 years, helped me set the foundation to get that goal. And every time somebody took a cheap shot at me, blindsided me, in business, in real life, right? In business, I would go to the gym. And I went from doing 225 9 times max in my entire life, 285 max, to 225 naturally, 225 17 times, right? Last year at 36, right, for the first time ever, and 330, I think, or 325 I put up, right? And I tell you that because, most people say, I get older, am I going to do that weight? And I use that external fuel to go within and make myself better. So everything I do at this point, and I'm still human.
Of course.
You can only absorb so much before you break the point.
Of course.
I've been able to take those external hits, process them, understand them, digest them, and turn that into inner fuel, where it's not about what somebody makes anymore, how many deals you close, I don't care about any of that stuff anymore. I care about being myself, being true to myself, and being able to live with myself and my decisions,
100%.
And that's where I think the ultimate growth comes from.
Definitely. We're definitely the world where people are just comparing egos and comparing status, and there's just so many different outlets of influence, whether it's social media and, people pushing one thing when, it's really the complete opposite. So I agree with you there, no doubt. But yeah, man, that's all I got.
I appreciate
that.
that.
Thank you for your time.
You got it, man.
An
Anytime.
absolute pleasure.
I'm always
like
here for you. Whatever you need, reach out anytime.
Awesome.
You got
Thank
it.
you so much. Man.
Good.